After watching about 6 or 7 of the different presentations on Ted's website, I still kept going back to Benjamin Zander's presentation, The Transformative Power of Classical Music. Even though we were sent to that one originally to watch as kind of a palette setter of what TED is and its presentation style, I would have picked that one anyway. It was fantastic. What he talked about was that regardless of your age, regardless of your social demographics or political stances, and even regardless of your preference in musical genres, classical music has the ability to transport you or reveal in you things emotionally that you may not have known were there. They're camouflaged, just like this shirt, which is why I'm wearing it. When it's out in the forest, it blends in, it's demure, you don't even notice it, it's hidden. But when you put it behind a very stark and bland background like this, it stands out like a sore thumb. It's awkward and sometimes even kind of visually uncomfortable. Our emotions are very much that way. Sometimes they can be awkward, uncomfortable, and we camouflage them. But classical music can help bring them out, reveal them, and in some ways it's like audible man journaling, audible journaling. It just helps you get it out. So what Mr. Zanders did was he started off by getting the audience's attention by helping them identify themselves within a particular group. Are you the kind of person who's like gaga for classical music? Mozart, yeah! Are you the kind who is impartial? Do you hate classical music with a passion? It sucks! Or are you the kind who thinks they're tone deaf? He got their attention immediately by helping them get involved in the talk. And then he maintained their attention throughout in a variety of ways. One of them that I thought was neat was he would comment on specific members of the audience and their body language, like the gentleman who sighed, I'm home, when he hit the E minor, or the guy whose eyes were sparkling. He would comment on that and let them know that he, even as the presenter, was paying attention to them, the audience, not just as a collective, but as an individual, and it helped maintain their sense of focus on him. Pretty powerful. Now, Mr. Zanders used a whole variety of the TED Commandments, from storytelling to all sorts of funny stuff. But the one that I think he did most powerfully was the Thou shalt dream a great dream, or show forth a wondrous new thing. What he did reveal, that wondrous new thing, was the power of classical music. Now, like the Native Americans who were touring and helping guide Lewis and Clark across the continental U.S. in the early 1800s, the land was familiar to them. It was not a new thing, it was their home. That's where they lived. But for Lewis and Clark, it was a wondrous new thing. And that's clearly what Benjamin Zanders was doing with the audience in this. He lives in the land of musical passion, and he was just bringing the audience along to experience the land that he called home. Very powerful. Now, what Mr. Zanders did was he used Nancy Duarte's sparkline structure, available in the book on pages 36 and 37 if you're interested. And it basically is a binary graph. It's on or off. It was what is, what could be. And he would talk about what is, you think you're tone deaf. What could be, actually you're not. Whole bunch of them. And then he'd break up the monotony of the binary with different examples, stories, playing on the piano, comedy, and his tone would shift. He'd go from over enthusiastic and excited to very serious and very quiet and very somber. And it kept the audience on the edge of their seat, probably with one buttock, knowing him. Now, the star moment for me, the something I'll always remember, was actually probably the moment at the end of the presentation that he gave. It was probably different from everyone else. They probably thought the music and playing Chopin's piece was the take-home. But the topic of the lady on the train to Auschwitz, that was the take-home moment for me. Are you able to speak as though it will be the last time you speak to that person? I've had a couple of moments like that in my life, and they've been interesting. Anyway, that part was what hit me the most. The speaker's delivery when it came to Gar Reynolds' Naked Presenter, he followed quite a few of Mr. Reynolds' philosophy points. One of them primarily was play music, use a piano, or get involved with the audience physically, not just stay on the stage, but walk out amongst them. He did that clearly. The primary one was he presented naked. No slides, no script, just passion. Pure passion. I'm sure the man practiced his presentation many, many times. There's an old maxim that says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Clearly, Benjamin Reynolds was speaking, or Benjamin Zanders, as you were, was speaking from his heart. It was just welling out of him, out of his mouth, and then coming out of his eyes. And he got that back with his audience, because what started in the audience as a, okay, presentation, by the end, their eyes were sparkling as they were standing. So he clearly resonated, to use the month's buzzword, with his audience in ways that was probably new to them. Now, when I do my presentation, one of the main points I want to focus on is actually going to emulate his. I don't want to have bullet points. I don't want to have slides. If we have to, I will. Understood. Understood. But if I can get away with not doing it and speaking from my heart and speaking with passion, I want to be able to present it in a way that makes this little camera's monocular eye sparkle. That's the kind of passion I want to pour out. If I can get the iPhoto to glisten and I can see a little tear coming down there, hey, we're doing well. So that was pretty much it. I really loved his talk, and I can relate to that. My father, in conclusion, my father was dating my mother, and he did not know how to tell her how much he loved her. He's a scientist, very engineered type, but he loved classical music. So what he did was he just pulled her aside one time in the midst of just frustration and said, I need to show you something. And he pulled out his piano, an upright Baldwin, and he just played Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. Now, when Beethoven wrote that, he wrote it out of a broken heart because he had proposed to one of his female students, and she'd turned down his proposal for marriage. And Beethoven man-journaled, if you will, the Moonlight Sonata. It was an outlet for him. So my dad played that for my mom. He didn't know what to say, so he let the music speak. And I'm sure it was the performance of his life, because he meant it. Played it from the heart, and it was in that moment my mother realized, I love this man. I really love this man. And that was her star moment, and they got married later because of that. Music, classical music especially, can transform. I wouldn't be around today if it wasn't for Beethoven and my dad's ability to play the piano. Anyway, that is it, and I look forward to going through everyone else's presentations. Take care.